Hello and a very good afternoon to everyone joining me on this News 9 Facebook Live. There has been a latest episode of the Chinese aggression, and this comes after days of calm, an uneasy calm, but just as hopes are building up of perhaps a de-escalation taking place a few months down the line. Now, another episode has taken place, and this time around, what's even more worrying is that it is in the southern bank of Pangong Tso, which is quite worrying because all this while the previous tension that had taken place was in the northern bank. This is for the first time that we are seeing these clashes in the southern bank as well. So, several questions come to mind. Firstly, is this an indication, of course, that this tension with China is in for the long haul? Not just for the next few months, it could go on for much longer perhaps. Secondly, why has the area shifted? Why is it so strategically important, geographically as well, extremely important? India is better placed in the southern region, but despite that, why is it that these fresh tensions and fresh flare-up has taken place? To discuss more on what this means on ground and on the long run as well, joining me live is an expert on the matter, Air Marshal B.K. Murli, joining me. Many thanks for joining us, Air Marshal. Firstly, your thoughts on the clashes that have taken place. Would you say that this came as a complete surprise or a shocker, or would you say that this was something that we could have seen coming since there was no let-up in the Chinese aggression as well?
Good afternoon, Pratibha. In fact, this is, I'm sure, is a bit of a surprise to, the special forces who are monitoring that area. In fact, a little bit about the southern bank of the Pangong Lake will probably put everything in the right perspective. Southern bank traditionally has not been operationally active.
Okay.
And it is more of a flat plateau with actually overlooking Chushul area, where actually the meetings between the commanders of both sides have been held in the past.
Okay.
So this area traditionally is not a very operationally viable area, even though it is possible to take all the mechanized infantry vehicles and also the armor right up to the lake.
Okay.
Now, what is surprising is surrounding this southern bank of the Pangong Lake are all hill range, and one such hill range is known as the Spangur Gap.
Okay.
Spangur Gap is the place where actually the Chinese landed up. It's about 16,000 feet above the mean sea level, and that is where the Chinese troops, about 200 to 300 troops, were seen marching towards that place, and they were detected by the Indian side through their Poseidon, radar. And before they could actually come to that heights, Indian side went there and they completely pushed them back.
Okay.
Now, this particular, area, what is known as Spangur Gap, actually is very close to the Rezangla area where the 1962 war took place. In fact, the Chinese side had come right up to the Rezangla, and that is where the 1962 war was fought. And we all know that Pangong Lake per se, it holds a lot of promise to both the sides because of various reasons, and it also gives full access to, the eastern Ladakh. Pratibha, one issue which is extremely critical here is those who dominate the Spangur Gap, actually they dominate the Dabruk Shok and Daulat Beg Oldie Road. There is every possibility that the Chinese have tried to come close to the Spangur Gap in the southern bank of Pangong Lake, only with the intention of dominating the Dabruk Shok Daulat Beg or Oldie Road. In fact, this particular road, which is about 250 kilometers, is actually a total metal road, has been the bone of contention ever since May of this month, this year. Now, the Chinese coming there, it's quite obvious. In fact, they want to gain access to the eastern Ladakh and hence the southern bank of Pangong Lake.
Okay, so we spoke of how it's strategically and geographically important. It was not expected, but this was something that the Chinese have done, like you said as well. But talking about the importance, comparisons also being made with what happened in 1962. But time and again, the message that's being given out is that India has changed. We are now much better prepared, and it's not going to be the same. So, talking about the strategic importance, it's also important to note that perhaps this is posturing that is being done by China in a clear message being given out?
Yeah, absolutely. This is posturing. There is no denying that they are, they are trying to test our patience, and they know very well that their movements can be detected through the, radars, which can penetrate even the darkness, and it is possible to through the IR devices that are fitted on the Poseidon radar. It is possible to detect the movement. Human movement, and that is exactly what our forces have done. In fact, they have got special forces, special operative forces, which are manning that area, and they have detected. And before the enemy could actually come to the heights, they have gone there and they have pushed them back. And there are some reports to say that there has been a clash, use of some weaponry, and also some 20 to 25 Chinese soldiers have also been taken as prisoners. Now,
Right.
we don't know, they are all unconfirmed reports, we can't really say about that. But notwithstanding the fact, the Chinese game plan is very clear. In fact, they are testing the patience of the Indian side.
True.
See, another aggression 70 days, 76 days later, when five rounds of talks, military level talks have taken
That's true.
place, under five talks between, the National Security Advisor and, the Foreign Secretary and their counterpart have taken place. It all, points towards only one thing. China is not going to back down. They have come fully prepared, and they are now, stocked up enough for winter. It appears that all their, bases and airfields in the Tibet Autonomous Regions have been completely activated and stocked with the winter stockings. So they have come fully prepared to actually for a very long haul. Now, this game plan of China is crystal clear, and all that is happening is we are seeing through that.
Absolutely. And, there has been, like you said, several levels of talks that have taken place as well. There might be no letter, but it seemed like it was progressing towards perhaps the tensions de-escalating. But clearly, this latest incident is an indication that all of that could have been eyewash as well. But also, Air Marshal, there have been several reports as well, not officially confirmed, but there are several who have spoken of how the Chinese have built multiple camps in Indian territory as well. So, what can India do about it? Is India also working overtime to ensure that, the Chinese any built up there is taken care of?
Since 1962, right up to 2020, they have been, they have been salami slicing, and they have taken close to 650 square kilometers of our area. They have built roads,
Right.
including Doklam. In fact, in the Doklam, confrontation in 2017, they have occupied close to 80 square kilometers of the Bhutanese area, and they built a road. Now, they have actually occupied Depsang plains of which actually falls on the Indian side, and they have now it appears that they are building a parallel road to the Karakoram highway, which is close to 1,600 kilometers, which joins Xinjiang to the Gilgit-Baltistan right up to the Gwadar port.
Okay.
Now, the Chinese have been building infrastructures one after the other in the very, in the region under contention, that is the Galwan area, near the Finger Six. They are building helipads. They have built missile sites.
Okay.
Since it is is a plateau and there is a flat area, they have built helipads, and it appears that there is a very heavy movement of the Chinese helicopters in that area. So the Chinese infrastructure building is continuing, and we have been looking at it and keeping quiet. In fact, this is a very unfortunate development. You see, knowing very well that China China is not trustworthy, and they do not give any credence to the agreements between the two nations. We have allowed them to do everything. In fact, they are building a Diamar Basha dam in the disputed area of Gilgit-Baltistan, on our Indus River. In fact, they have built a dam on the Brahmaputra River, diverting the water. So they have been doing it now for decades,
Yeah.
and we have been watching it. It is time we woke up and did something positive. We can also do a similar thing. In fact, we can simply march into their area and then say that this belongs to us, because we can also take advantage of the fact that today the LAC is not demarcated. But it is time that we woke up. We have to be aggressive, and we need to do, we need to give China in their own coin. But this actually will need a political will and national will, and probably the time is now.
Okay, so it might take some more time. But like you said, despite the world narrative building up against China, China is being seen as an aggressor, not just with India, but with the other borders as well, with the other countries as well. And that's the reason why it could be an indication that there's not going to be any let up at all. Marshall, we've discussed this before as well when the Galwan clashes had taken place, that this is not going to be something that will be solved. It's going to be much longer than Doklam. It has already become, but now it looks like even after a few months, perhaps it could take much longer, isn't it?
Yes, it is going to take much longer. You see, half of it, Pratibha, in fact, I want to be the devil's advocate. It's all our own doing. You see, we had so many rounds of talks with China, 22 rounds of talks with special representatives, and 5 agreements since 1993. At no point in time, we actually gave a map to China and say, look, this is our perception of LAC. Now, if you got a perception of LAC, come and tell us. Even now, we can do it. You see, the 5 rounds of talks with General Harinder had with Major Lin Liu did not, there was no mention of the demarcation of LAC at any time. So, Chinese are taking advantage. Now, if you do not want to demarcate the LAC, perfectly all right. We should also take advantage and push in their area, and we also do what is known as the counter salami slicing. This is not going to go off in a hurry. This is not going to be resolved in a hurry. This is going to take a very long time. And then if the Chinese should be given a time frame, okay, all right. Now this is what is our perception. In the next about a month or so, you get back to your status quo ante April 2020 position, or face the music. We should give them a very firm, some kind of a warning. Today, the world opinion is in our favor. Today, the Quad countries are willing to support us. United States has already sent their, a career task force to the South China Sea. This is the right time. And if we now still, follow our meek, subdued, and unimaginative foreign policy and keep talking about military level talks and diplomatic talks, we will have ourselves to blame.
Absolutely. India wants peace, but we are not going to sit down where any kind of aggression takes place from the other side. Air Marshal B.K. Murli, many thanks for joining me on this Facebook Live. And the Indian Army has also said that it had already preempted this strike by China, which is why it had strengthened its position as well, and now has answered China in a way that it understands. But this also clearly shows that for a long time now, for months together, these clashes, the tensions could continue along the border. Now, of course, from the northern bank, it has shifted to southern bank as well. And the Indian Army is also going to ensure that it strengthens its position. Thank you so much for joining me on this live. I'll see you in the next